Alright guys, it has been one heck of a week in the Focus RS. We've done ice racing in this, we've taken out to M1 concours and drifted it around the racetrack. We've had plenty of usage of the drift stick. We've thoroughly enjoyed the catback exhaust on this car with all of its pops and crackles and bangs. Everyone's thinking that there's gunshots going off, but really it's just a Focus RS. This car it's been fun. That's the best way I can describe it. It's just been a blast. It's always entertaining. It puts a smile on my face. It's fun with others. You can just hoon away to your heart's content and really get a lot of enjoyment out of this car. The chassis is playful. The engine is great. The all-wheel drive system is fun. Drift mode adds a level of rear-wheel drive character to this car that I wasn't really expecting. There are a few gripes that I have, though. One of those is just the overall level of interior space. It's a little bit cramped back here. You get 4 passengers, and honestly, it's just not enough room. When I first got the car, I thought the drift stick was getting in my way a little bit. Ergonomically, I had to get used to it. But after living with it for a few days, it is totally fine. I have no complaints about the drift stick being where it is. I think this is definitely an accessory I would buy for my Focus RS, and I mean that because it is not only does it look cool, it works really well. And once you get to learn it, if you're on a racetrack or in some sort of loose environment, some type of controlled environment where you have a chance to hoon, just for those few pulls, it's totally worth it. And once you own RS, you know where the auto climate control button is. You know these buttons down here by heart, so you don't really need to look and see what you're doing. You just need a drift stick. So this car also has the Ford Performance short shifter. Haven't really talked about that much this week, mostly because I can't really tell the difference between it and the stock shifter. I think maybe the stock shifter might be a little bit longer, a little bit more rubbery, but this isn't like a super notchy, super stiff short shifter. It's pretty OEM feeling. It's just a lot lower in the transmission area, and honestly, I can't really tell the difference. Though I will say I haven't spent a ton of time in a stock RS. Another feature on this car that I do really, really like is I love this exhaust. It sounds fantastic. It really accentuates the pops and burbles and cracks from this RS, and its fuel hogging nature. Right now I'm in normal mode. Things are a little bit more muted, a little bit more subdued. But you throw it into sport mode, and things wake up just a little bit. So let's do that right now. Takes a minute for it to switch. Now, it might not sound like a whole lot from in here, but outside, those pops are loud. You get under a bridge, it really reverberates. You stand behind the car during launch control, and it hurts your ears. It's loud. I should get a decibel meter and see how many decibels it is, but it really, you hear it. And they're a little bit unpredictable. And that's what kind of makes it fun. This is just a little bit of it gives you that rally car vibe. I dig it. Ton of torque from this engine. You've got power and torque everywhere. The boost really comes on strong and it feels good. Handling is phenomenal. In every mode besides drift mode, you get a really nice neutral chassis feel to this. It's very well balanced. No understeer. On power, the car just rotates and comes out of a corner. And then, this was kind of a surprise to me, when you do put it into drift mode, the car feels rear driven. It has this there's just a lot of willingness to turn in very quickly. The front end of the car sharpens up, and the rear just becomes alive. It's awesome. It feels great. At high speeds, it's a little bit disconcerting and feels a little bit sketchy, but you do notice a huge difference between drift mode and everything else. Just for example, let's try this entrance ramp. in drift mode. I'll just show you guys what I mean. Hear those pops under the overpass. So really sharp turn in. This car just darts in. It's amazing. And with how fast the steering rack is, it is just incredible how much turn in and how responsive it is. In drift mode, there's virtually no understeer. The car just feels incredibly solid, incredibly confidence-inspiring. Let's whip a little U-turn around here. Put it back into sport mode. This car is on winter tires, obviously, if you've seen the other videos we've posted this week. I'm sure it's going to be dulling some of the sensations in these drives, but these, I think that, what are these? These are Michelin Pilot Alpine, the new Alpine tires. They're fantastic. They're absolutely phenomenal. Really well balanced tire, nice performance in the dry, great performance in the snow and ice. I'm very impressed with them. Let's engage drift. Let's engage launch control here. Let's do a quick launch control start. Spinning all top 4 tires there on launch. Just wails. It's so satisfying to drive. Half expecting some blue lights to flash behind me. I'm having so much fun. Alright, so let's talk some more about this car. We know it's fun to drive. We know it's amazing. I've just shown you what it can do. I have a few complaints. First of all, the ride is just barely bearable. It's so stiff. Normal mode is tolerable. It's not punishing, but if you have any passengers in here who aren't car enthusiasts, who aren't used to this type of punishment, they're gonna complain. My girlfriend, she's like, this car is just too bumpy. It's ridiculous. I have tolerated it this week, and I could probably live with it, though I think eventually I'd buckle and get a set of softer coilovers or something that's just a little bit better damped and more accurately sprung for this chassis. It's something that you can fix, but just go in knowing that if you live in an area with a lot of bumps, a lot of potholes, a lot of rough roads, you're gonna feel every little bump. I haven't put this car into sport suspension mode once this week, and even on track it felt too stiff for me. My other gripe is, but this just comes with the territory, this car is so fun that you're always in boost. You're always wide open throttle. You're always pushing it. You're always getting those exhaust pops under overpasses. This car just eggs you to have more and more fun. And it's a blast. But as a result, I've been getting terrible gas mileage. I've probably been getting around 16, 17 miles to the gallon all week. I'm on my 4th tank of gas already. Yeah, I've been burning a lot of fuel. But I've been having a lot of fun. So there's a trade-off there, and you just need to be aware of that as well. If you want to really see real-world fuel economy numbers for Focus RSs, think about your driving style. Be honest with yourself. Go on an app like Fueler or something like that. Check out, see what people are getting in the real world. Visibility in this car is great. Ergonomics are nice. I like the sound system. Everything is nice. It's got a lot of features like the heated steering wheel. That's fantastic. I love the difference in feel between drive modes. It's a little bit cramped in here. These Recaros really keep you in. They hug you tight, but they make you feel a little bit claustrophobic as a result. With 4 adult passengers in here, it tends to get a little bit cramped. There isn't necessarily as much room in the back seat as I'd like to see, but that's just inherent of the Ford Focus. That's the way it is. I think if I were to compare this to the other offerings, this versus the STI, this versus the Golf R, the Honda Civic Type R, this is definitely one of the more fun offerings. I would be hard-pressed to choose between this and a Type R. I think the Type R overall is a better driver's car and maybe just a more fun performance proposition. But it's front-wheel drive. It's front-wheel drive perfection, but it's still front-wheel drive. If you want a hoon and you want all-wheel drive and you want that sensation of just rocketing out of a corner no matter what the weather conditions, this is a great option. I think ultimately the Golf R is going to be more daily drivable. It's going to be more comfortable, more livable, more spacious. The STI will have a little bit more rally-bred heritage. It has real engineering behind that, whereas a lot of the things in the Focus RS, there's been some cost cutting here. There isn't a real temperature sensor in the limited slip differential, and the oil pressure sensor, the oil temperature sensor, isn't a real sensor. These are all estimated values that are based on your driving style and what type of abuse you're putting the car through. A couple instances this week, the car went into limp mode while we were ice racing and while we were out on the skid pad at M1 Concours. And we learned that if you keep the revs high, if you keep them up near red line, the car will go into limp mode pretty quickly because it thinks you're overheating the rear diffs, even though you may be just fine. So if you keep it in the mid-range, you can hoon all day, no problem, which makes sense. If you're in the dry, you need those high RPMs to really get the wheels to spin and go sideways, and chances are you're going to be heating things up. But in the snow, you're not going to be. You can be doing that all day and you'll be in great shape. But the car doesn't know the difference because it doesn't have a sensor back there. And even if you did introduce a cooling system, it wouldn't necessarily fix the problem because it's still an estimated thing within the computer, within the ECU, that would have to be tuned out. But for 99% of the situations that you're in, it's never an issue. You can hoon in the snow as long as you know the parameters of the car and how it's designed, and you can work around that. So yesterday, after we figured out what was going on, we didn't hit limp mode once while we were sliding around the track at M1, which is great. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I haven't really covered. That pretty much goes over in pretty good detail my experience with this car this week. I've really enjoyed it. I haven't had this much fun in any of the press cars I've had in a long time. This thing is just a riot. The ride is brutal. It sounds fantastic. All the driver inputs are phenomenal. It's fun. It's an experience. You take your friends out in this and you have a really, really good time pretty much anywhere where you're going. It's just a little bit naughty, and I like that. I would definitely swing for the drift stick. You get used to it after a few days being there. You're not knocking your hand on it. I think it looks cool. It's this beautiful, just awesome looking piece of metal in the cabin. It's nicely machined. And it works. This thing works really, really, really well. In practice, it delivers the goods. You have to be in specific modes. You have to be in drift mode. You have to have traction and stability control completely disabled. It only works from like 3 to 90 miles an hour, I believe. There's a sheet on all this that I should have been reading up on, but yeah, it completely disables, the rear drive unit, ABS. It's the business. It really does a good job. Ford did a nice job engineering the parameters on this and just delivering a product that I'm amazed is offered in the market. I mean, can you imagine you could drive a stock car now that basically has a hydraulic handbrake. It's not a hydraulic handbrake, but it acts like one. That's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. Thank you, Ken Block, for making the world a driftier place for us hoonigans. I have to believe that he has some input on this type of stuff. All right, I'm gonna miss the Focus RS. It's been a really fun week in this thing. I hope you guys get a chance to check out some of the other videos we filmed on this car. it's worth it. Drift stick, catback exhaust, it's all worth it. I would definitely swing for these accessories if I had the chance. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed these videos on this car this week. I know I've really enjoyed making them. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. And we will catch you later. Cheers. Yes.